more generally known. My favorite examples are these situations where something from space, people assume that you'd never see it from space, but in fact it's embarrassing or the wrong thing or so forth, and people are making appropriate changes. So I think this is a transitional period. The benefits of being able to see that third dimension, what pilots see when they fly, turns out to be phenomenal. I talked to Queen Noor about her husband who died, who was a pilot, and she told me that part of the reason he was a pilot was that when he flew around the Middle East, he never saw any boundaries. He never saw the little lines that we see on the map, which is what we assume those lines are like etched in the desert, right? We all know where they are, right? It's right there on the map, but it really isn't. I went to a photography show from one of the astronauts who was particularly good at mid-format camera photography, showing what the Earth really looked like. And I think that it's both a message of peace, but also a message of the importance of the Earth that I think we want to get out. There are some things that we do to be responsive to this. We are very, very careful not to show real time, because we think real time could be misused in, you can imagine, 20 ways in which real-time images could be used. And we also have various mechanisms for things which are sensitive or inappropriate to try to consider whether we should remove those as well. So we want to be sensitive to that. But the overwhelming conclusion is that society benefits from more of that kind of imagery being available. And thank you for helping make that happen. More questions? Way in the back.
Chris Kemp out at Ames Research Center. Increasingly, collaborative technologies are free, and systems are increasingly being developed in open source, and it's hard to procure what's free. What advice do you have for federal agencies that are trying to use tools which are free?
Let's do this again. The government, which has like $1 trillion deficit, can't buy something which is free. It has to buy something which costs money. Does that? Everyone says yes. Okay. Welcome to Washington, I guess. Even the technologies that I was describing that are free are typically come with a support burden. So what companies do when they work with the companies that I mentioned is they actually do a procurement in the Washington sense or in the government sense, but they do it for a service. The software itself is free, but the support, its integration, and so forth, and that works pretty well. So we use the term free, but we all understand that people are paying for this. They're paying for engineering, they're paying for support, and so forth, and that's where the revenue is being created. To put it another way, sometimes you pay for the software, sometimes you pay for the service. At the end of the day, you're going to pay for something. So it has to do with what you're procuring. There's no question that the generation of computer people that I work with now are all building on top of this Linux platform, which is open source. But they're building tremendous companies. Google, of course, is largely Linux-based, to give you an example, and obviously very successful. More questions? Well, thank you for inviting me. Thank you all for a wonderful afternoon, and I hope you all get home in the middle of the storm. So thank you very much.
Well, that concludes our program. I'd like to thank Dr. Schmidt for joining us today. Thank you very much, Dr. Schmidt. I'd like to thank Google as well. I'd also like to thank Lockheed Martin for their tremendous support in bringing this event together. And finally, I'd like to thank the Newseum for a wonderful facility. And thank you to all of you. Have a wonderful day, and again, safe travels.